The Spanish Grand Prix is set to bring a lot of talking points to the F1 calendar, starting from the future of certain F1 drivers and ending with the existence of the Catalunya circuit in the foreseeable future. With Madrid entering the calendar from 2026 onwards, there have been lots of talks that the Barcelona race is seeing the last of its days, as the financial cost of having two races in one country is too much for the financial situation of Spain. So, with this in mind, what are some of the biggest questions that will be answered for 2024, and will Spain be the opener of a competitive 2024 season? It seems like the Barcelona circuit will give the answer to a lot of questions regarding the future of some F1 drivers, such as the home hero Carlos Sainz. In a recent interview, the Spaniard said that all of the teams that are now without a secured driver for the next season have offered him a contract, and he could be signing a deal tomorrow if he wanted to. Previous reports stated that it was going to be at his home turf in Spain, Barcelona, that he would announce the partnership with Williams, as Sauber are now slowly but surely shifting their focus towards more motivated drivers for their liking, such as Esteban Ocon. Apart from that, it's very likely that Logan Sargeant will be under tremendous pressure to deliver good results in Barcelona, and given the fact that he's been out-qualified 30-0 compared to his teammate Albon in their shared time together, it's now very unlikely that he will have a seat beyond 2025. Ahead of the Barcelona Grand Prix, the team principal of Williams, James Vowles, went on to talk about the future of Sargeant, not delivering great news for the American driver, as he added, "I think there's no doubt that Sargeant will need to deliver more performance in Barcelona if he wants to keep his seat alive. We also haven't had the cars in the same spec for a period of time, and some of that is still due to the earlier damage that we're building up to. Some of that is because we pulled some upgrades forward, and there was simply not enough to put across two cars." Sargeant is continuously evolving as an individual, as I hope he would be in that circumstance. But is he where I need him to be target-wise? That is the big question of things. We need more from him, really, to be able to save his seat in that sort of circumstance. Apart from these two drivers, it looks like the future of Ocon might get a fresh twist, because if Sainz is to sign the contract with Williams, then Sauber's attention would switch drastically towards Ocon. He is a proven race winner, and despite his priorities laying with Haas after the last couple of interviews, the Frenchman said that he won't rush with his decision and see which option seems to be the best for his career. Nonetheless, these are barely the opening points of the Barcelona circuit, as the track itself is facing uncertainty in the upcoming period. With the growing interest in the street circuits, Madrid has emerged as a candidate for the Spanish Grand Prix from 2025, and the financial cost that the two races will have on one country might be unbearable for the Spanish economy, even though the president of F1, Stefano Domenicali, stated that there's a legitimate opportunity that there will be 25 races from 2026 onwards, and both of the circuits in Spain will survive. The chances of this are slim to none. Be that as it may, Barcelona serves as the perfect breeding ground for Formula One teams' upgrades due to the combination of all types of corners, as well as one long main straight to evaluate the top speed of the car. Even though the grid is now more keen towards the Bahrain circuit when it comes to testing their cars in the pre-season period, this is usually the first track on which they're bringing the upgrade packages, because they know that they can extract a lot of potential out of the car based on the nature of the Catalunya circuit. When it comes to Spain, it has been quite known that the location of the race has changed a lot in the past, as we have also raced in Jerez and Valencia. But with Madrid and the street circuits being in rise and bringing more money to the sport, it would be interesting to see whether this is one of the last times we'll race in Barcelona. This year's race is going to be one of the most anticipated ones, because it will answer whether we'll have a competitive remainder of the 2024 calendar or not. Red Bull are expected to remain at the top of the curve due to the nature of the track being more conventional, as the curbs and bumps won't be as present. But that doesn't mean that teams like Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes will sit still. All of the teams will bring new parts, with Ferrari probably arriving with the biggest package, even though it was originally scheduled for Silverstone. A new version of the floor as well as revised bodywork will be presented on the SF24, as the Maranello team is expected to gain around 2/10 of performance here, which could be as big as a difference between qualifying P1 and P6. The grid is now closer than ever for a driver of Verstappen's caliber, and even though the rest of the grid are adamant that it's going to be Red Bull is the team to beat, The compacted grid has given a lot of hope for teams who have demonstrated a lot of pace in Montreal as well, such as Mercedes. Nothing would delight the F1 fans more than to see the Silver Arrows back at the top, fighting for race wins and podiums. And while that seemed like a far-fetched scenario, it is now very likely that the W15 can fight for race wins on a more frequent matter, as Allison and Wolff are adamant that they have unlocked more performance and a wider operating window for their car. When talking about the upcoming race, Wolff remained cautiously optimistic, while Russell said that there isn't any reason why he cannot fight for pole positions and race wins like he did in Montreal. And the fact that he sits 8-1 compared to Hamilton in qualifying goes to show that he's slowly but surely putting himself into the leader of the team, even though he only holds an 8-point lead compared to his teammate in the Drivers' Championship. I think definitely since Imola we've taken the right steps and put parts on the car that are working, something that we were struggling with in the past couple of years. Now directionally, we seem to be adding performance every weekend, and we have new stuff coming also, new parts coming in Barcelona that should help us. So I would very much hope that we can continue this positive trajectory. It's safe to assume that Mercedes have poised a thorn in the eye for the rest of the grid when it comes to the design of the front wing, something that Red Bull protested prior to the Barcelona Grand Prix. Although it was previously checked and proclaimed legal by the governing body, the Austrian squad believes that under race conditions, the teams like Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes are able to flex the wing on higher loads, which enables them to generate more downforce than allowed. And if this matter is not addressed, it's going to be something that they will orient towards because there's nothing more they can do. Red Bull are definitely feeling the pressure to up the performance, and while it would be interesting to see whether or not they will continue on this development curve, the fact that Marco and Perez's statements are not aligned when it comes to whether or not the car can receive more performance and higher boost goes to show that there's definitely a divided opinion for the RB20's future. And when it comes to the future of Red Bull, we cannot help but add Perez's statement, who also feels that he needs to be performing at the highest level possible in Barcelona in order to keep his seat safe, because as Horner said, there's no doubt that he needs to be at the top of his game before the second year of his contract would be guaranteed. When talking about the upcoming race in Barcelona, Perez went on to say, "Coming into Spain, I know I need a successful weekend, after a disaster in Canada. Sometimes you're forced to reset a little, and we've done that since the last race. I've been in Milton Keynes working with the team to try and identify where and what we can do better to ensure I'm getting the most out of this car." But what is very interesting is that Perez went on to blame Verstappen for his poor performance, stating that going head-to-head against the best driver on the grid is not making him any good for the future in the Austrian squad. Nonetheless, the pressure from Horner has ramped up, and even though he defended Perez on many occasions, Barcelona will serve as a real test as to whether or not the Mexican driver has what it takes to be the second driver in the best team on the grid that is slowly but surely being caught up. The midfield is also expected to be closer than ever, with Racing Bulls bringing upgrades worth 2.5 seconds per lap, while Aston Martin do not expect massive improvements as they aim to finish somewhere between P8 to P12. With all of this in mind, do you think that we will have a very competitive race in Barcelona? And more importantly, do you think that this might be one of the last times that we'll be racing at this legendary venue? Let us know in the comments below.